As part of a six-part series around Microsoft Teams, I will be covering the basic steps from start to finish of how to use your Teams, how to be more productive, and the things that I think you need to consider. This first little part one, will be covering the building of your team, any governance or naming conventions that I want you to consider. So adding members, also what gets provisioned in the background so that you understand the technical or the information architecture in the background. And then also we'll just chat about the permissions. So let's get started. Now in your Microsoft team, you'll see at the bottom in the left corner, there's a little join or create team. This is all dependent on whether you have permissions to create teams. Now, before you get mad at me if you can't create teams, I need to explain a couple of things to you so that you understand why everyone shouldn't be creating teams, as it definitely will lead to some chaos in companies. So the first thing, to create a team is really, really easy, whether it is yourself that's creating the team or whether it is the IT department or there's a provisioning workflow for it. Now, when we create a team, the most important thing I want you to remember is the name. Now, I've made a couple of notes, which I'll just bring across. And I'm going to just be talking about my little company for a moment. So my company's name is The Good Stuff, right? It's not big and grown and all over the world yet, but it could be. But let's say, for example, I had a couple of divisions in my company, and these divisions also are based at different locations. So when I create a team for anything in my company, I always started with TGS, which means that any teams I create that's got TGS in front of it for The Good Stuff is top level team. So these are teams that sits at the top level of the company. So TGS Exco or TGS Shared Services. If I had divisions, let's say People Development and Training, PDT, or Research and Content Creation, or Personal Branding and Community, then I would be creating teams with those little acronyms in front of it. So that when I look at the site collections created for my teams, I've actually got a nice list that tells me which teams fall under which business units or divisions. And it's got a nice and clear guideline, because I might end up with a lot of human capitals all over the company. Each division might have their own little human capital department or finance department. So if we start creating teams called finance, you'll end up with a lot of site collections called finance. So please think about using these little acronyms in front of it to identify which business unit or division this team falls under, which just helps a lot in the background. It definitely builds those site collections all next to each other on the same tenant. So it's not that it builds a hierarchy in the background. So I am going to start and let's build the TGS Exco team. So here you'll see that you can decide whether it's private or team owners can add members, or anyone in your organization can join. And then also you can also create a team from an existing Office 365 group. So if you used groups before, you can now link it to an existing group. So let's go next. And then we'll just very quickly, for now, I'm going to add just one member for now. Okay, so I'm going to add Bram. And as soon as you add a member, that person will be a member in the team, not an owner. So where do I see the members and owners? Click on the ellipsis next to your team. If I go manage team, you'll see that this is where I can see owners and members. So this is where you can manage who the owners and the members are as well. When I create a team, what's important to remember is what happens in the background. It creates an Office 365 group. Now this group in layman's terms gives me a distribution list in Outlook. It also gives me a security group for permissions. It creates a SharePoint site collection. It also creates a OneNote and a planner. It creates a shared mailbox and a shared exchange mail account. And it also gives us a group in Stream for videos, and it also gives us a workspace in Power BI. So those are all the things that you need to consider that happens in the background when a team is created. So it's not just the team that's created here. There's a lot of big stuff that happens in the background. When it comes to permissions, please keep in mind that everyone in the team can see all the channels. For now, we're not going to split channels off and have separate permissions on channels. So please keep in mind that as I add members to this team, permissions will be the same for everyone, as they are all on the same team and all using the same channels. So a team is created, it creates a general channel by default, and all the members that I add will have access to all of the channels. In the next series, we'll cover understanding your team, and we'll go through the different navigation and buttons and areas that you can work with in your team. Catch up with you soon.